So, hello everyone. African Professionals for Progress are really happy to welcome you all today for our webinar. For those of you who are not familiar with us, APP is an NGO which main goal is to create a global network of highly skilled and trained individuals from Africa, the diaspora, African and African descendants, to leverage their knowledge, know-how, and skills for the benefit of Africa and its population, be it on the continent or abroad. So what the IPP particularly aims to is to provide an effective platform for discussion and reflection that should bring about positive change for African population globally, but also organize and facilitate events that foster research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That's why we are really excited to come back with this new webinar series, which entitled African Perspective on Entrepreneurship and Investment. And we are even more excited to have our first speaker, Dr. Daniel Chiumia, who is an entrepreneur and a livestock scientist specializing in dairy production, animal physiology, and agricultural technologies. So currently he's working as a lecturer at the Luana University in Malawi, and he is a visiting scholar at the ETH in Zurich in Switzerland. Daniel is also the founder of a Malawi-Swiss Agritech startup called Chiweto, and he co-founded a local incubation hub in Malawi called Entrepreneurs Innovation Hub. So some housekeeping information about our webinar today. Dr. Chiumia will be presenting, and while he's presenting, we will not be taking any questions, but the Q&A panel will be open, so you can ask any of your questions there. And after the presentation, then we will open the discussion. So Daniel, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Let me first of all thank Dr. Nana and the entire team from African Professional for Progress. It's a great honor for me to be here today and also engage with you and all those who are participating in this webinar. I'm so excited to share you some of the stories that I think they are quite interesting and also may be of interesting to some of you. And I'm sure that's why we're all here. I've joined this webinar. And I'm looking forward also quite a lot to engage and interact with you. Just to engage with you if you have, let's say, another question or ideas or no thoughts about the series that are there about African perspective on entrepreneurship and investment. And today I'm just excited to show you some of the opportunities that are there, and that's why we call it the title of Opportunities for Building a Business and Investing in Africa. And in particular, we just want to share you some of the lessons from Malawi. And thanks, Dr. Nana, for organizing this webinar and also for putting up everything until this time that we want to make the presentation. As already described, I think he has given a good description of me. I'll just briefly just tell you something about myself, just to recap what Dr. Nana has said, and later on I'll begin with the presentation. So to begin with, as I said, I wanted just to share you, as she was saying, currently I'm a lecturer at the Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources. It's abbreviated Luana. That's the logo to the left at the bottom. That's where I'm teaching data science and technology. I've been there for now nearly 9 years. So I've been doing my research there. And I'm also the co-founder and the CEO for Chiweto. This is agriculture technology startup, which today I want to share you some of the things that we've been doing for the past few years. And as a way of shedding some insights into what opportunities are there in Africa, especially when we talk about investment and entrepreneurship. And for Chiweto, you can see some of the things that we are doing. We are quite on Twitter. You can follow us at Chiweto MW at the end, and then you can appreciate some of the things that we share there. And also, I encourage you to follow, and then we can get also continue engaging each other on social media. Now I want to just share you how the presentation will be like today. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'll share you on how Chiweto as a startup was created and its traction. Specifically, I'll focus on the funding, how we've managed to be where we are today, and what has been the sources of funding. After that, I'll talk about what are we doing in the current setup where we are fighting COVID-19. So I'll highlight a few things and how we are doing and how we are contributing to this fight. And after that, I'll talk about the incubation hubs in Malawi. I will highlight how the incubation hubs, they are helping us as a startup, and what are other things. And later on, I want also to share a little bit more, not just about Malawi, but about Africa. How can we connect with the African entrepreneurs? In this regard, I will talk about some interesting events or some interesting institutional bodies or network that we might be of interest to know if you're an entrepreneur or if you're an investor. So I'll talk about that. And later on, I'm looking forward to have a Q&A, a very exciting Q&A, where we will just engage and talk and exchange ideas. Yeah. So having said that, I want to start by saying, Chiweto, we are an agricultural technology innovation startup. Now, we're talking about agriculture. If you look at Africa in general, we're talking about billions of farmers or billions of people who are involved in farming. And for example, in Malawi, if you talk about economically, the agriculture sector is contributing about 36% of the gross domestic product. And that's quite a lot in terms of economic contribution to the GDP of the country. And in particular, for example, in our case, most of our products at Chiweto, we are also focusing on the livestock. Even livestock itself in Malawi, we're talking about out of this 36%, we're talking about 11% being contribution from the livestock sector. Now, the interesting thing is the agriculture as it is, we find that it's quite a backbone to most of the economies of the developing countries, including Malawi. But one of the typical challenge or one of the typical constraint to this agriculture sector is that the farmers who are contributing a lot in this sector, they lack skills and information. So this is where was the genesis, or this is the challenge that through different innovations that were coming up as a startup, we are addressing. So we are in the process of providing solutions, management solutions, which are digitally oriented and which can help to build the capacity, and that these farmers are able to get necessary skills and they have necessary actionable information which can help them to be productive farmers, not just farming for fun, but make sure that they are farming and they're making profit out of it. And that's why I wanted to share you some of the things that we're doing in that. Now, coming back to exactly how was Chiweto created? So the first time I thought about issues of working with farmers is when I was doing my master's. So that was at the University of Edinburgh in UK. I worked a lot with the data. So during that time, I had an exposure to both academic as well as research for development. And I noticed that in Africa, it's quite a challenge to get hold of data. And later on, we're talking about quality data from farmers. And after finishing my master's, and then I came back and I joined the Luana, where now I'm a lecturer. I continue to pursue this trying to understand how best can we, for example, get data from farmers. So my initial idea was, in fact, just to say, okay, how best can we get data from farmers? That was my initial idea. But with time, I think it will get lost somewhere. And until that time, in 2015, I moved to Switzerland. And then somewhere in 2017, in October, that's when the idea came back. And why we came back, there are a number of programs, but here I just want to highlight Venture Lab. So Venture Lab, they organize what we call startup insertion workshops. These are 8-week 8 weeks workshop, and every week they tackle a problem, which if you are a business idea, they help you to conceptualize the idea. So that was in October 2017. And I joined that, and that's when I said, I was thinking about doing something with data and with the images from animals. And they said, oh, let me join. And then I put up my concept and submitted the application, and then I was accepted to follow the workshops. And that's when I began now to think a lot about the idea. And later on, this was October, in November, that's when I met my co-founder. He's a very genius guy. He's very smart. I met him. He's an IT guy. He's a developer. I don't even know how to write a code, but he's a guy behind every coding and everything. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited because I know I love coding. I love to do this IT thing, but I want to do IT which can be meaningful. I say, oh, in fact, I have an idea on how we can bring together our heads and our skills and make something nice. And that's when I shared the idea, and it was somewhere in November. Then we sat down to start putting up together the concept. And later on, also through Venture Lab, I had the opportunity to visit South Africa. I think I've been in Ethiopia, where we went to do market discovery. That's where we market discovery boot camps. Normally it's 1 week, 1 week length. And later on, if I fast track the discussion, I also had a chance to do the initial coaching from InnoSwiss. This is a government agency which they look at how you can become a CEO, how can you become an entrepreneur. But in between, I also did some academic oriented courses regarding entrepreneurship. So you might find that what I did initially until 2017, it was more about academic research. And now we have just published one of our paper, which is a proof of concept. Proof of concept, in simple terms, is more or less like we wanted to validate the assumptions that we had that you can use technology, simple technology or low technology, to get data from farmers and be able to use it for other initiatives. And that's how we did it. So if I can try to summarize to my right, you know that in 2017, it was more about coming up with ideas, and in 2017. And in 2018, that's when we spent most of our time building the product. And towards in the 2019, that's when we had our first prototype. So this is a very minimal viable product, which we managed to take it to the farmers to test it. And it's this year that we have now managed to get the first paying customer. I'll talk about the customer. So for our products, we are targeting farmers. But now the uniqueness with an African market is that when you come to agriculture, most of these farmers, they are being supported by non-governmental organization or developmental organization. That's why later on you hear I'll be talking about maybe working with one organization, because for some products we're working with the organization who are harboring a number of farmers under their umbrella. So this is just really an overview how I came into creation of Chiweto, just from just an idea out of academic research, and later on I meet some nice and smart co-founder, and then we put heads together, and then we bring something out of it, which today I'm sharing it. Now, in terms of funding, the first part, when it was more academic, we are integrating it into projects, like a small activities. So there we managed to get, I can say, more than $5,000. And then most of the funding that we used, it was more about our own as owners putting it our own resources and saving, which roughly we can talk about $10,000. And also we had a chance through the InnoSwiss program. I think it was from 2019 up to 2020. We also had a chance to go through a 6 months coaching, which they give you money so that you can hire a coach in Switzerland who can help you to develop the idea. And right now, since we began to have our first paying customer, now we have two customers in our business model. We have the farmers, and then we have organizations, the institutions. Right now, we are only having institutions who are paying, and so far we have managed to secure about generated at least $24,000 as part of a revenue. for this model, which is helping us to continue to develop the product. And so many opportunities which are coming up, which are pursuing and trying to make sure that we're able to develop the product. Now, I mentioned that also I will talk something about what are we doing in terms of fighting COVID-19. So we have 3 products. I will not discuss about product. I will only mention the one which we are using now. So out of 3 products, we have one which is an SMS-based platform. This is an interactive platform where it gives a chance for a farmer who has a phone, either a smartphone or a basic phone, to interact with the different organizations via SMS. And through this, we have a minimum viable product. As you can see the picture, this is just a landing page where organizations, they create account, we create accounts for them, and then they can manage the platform to engage, to exchange, and to interact with the smaller farmers. And so far, we have, since the past 2 months, 3 months, since we had issues of COVID, we are supporting Luana, where I am. We are supporting Clinton Foundation, and we are supporting World Vision International in sending out and allowing their farmers to get COVID-related messages. And if I add up everything, we are giving access to over 20,000 users, of whom majority are farmers, in accessing information about COVID. The beauty of this platform is that it's quite interactive, and either the farmer can initiate or can ask a question about the COVID or whether preventive measures or another question which they want to do. And we just we said no, as part of our contribution to this fight, we took off some of the charges, but we only put at least enough charges for the different institutions, which are you can see them here, to be able to use the platform, who are in fact in other aspect, they're also our customers, by the way. So this is how we've been doing, and it has been quite interesting to see thousands of farmers really putting up different questions. What should I do? Okay, is this, for example, if there's something, is this method of treating of symptoms COVID working? Then we could respond back to the farmers. We also had other agriculture-related activity, but here I just wanted to emphasize on COVID-related messages that we are doing in Malawi. And from there, the question might be, so what are you doing now? Where are you? What is happening? Okay, so right now, as a startup, for our products, we are still developing, and we're using what we call human-centered design thinking process. So this is a process where you have 5 key stages, which you go through when you are developing a product, and normally you need to engage the user. There's an interesting story, because in 2018, we had our first version of a minimum viable product. We were quite happy, we were quite excited, and then we went to meet the farmers, and then we realized that the format that we configured that the farmers should use in order to interact with the platform, it was not possible, because some farmers could not even find where there's a star on the phone in order to send a message. So we had to go back to the drawing board. So if you look at this picture, we're talking about we are excited that time that we went to prototype, but because of what we observed in the field, we had to go back to defining exactly how the product is. And until now, I can tell you we are still at a prototype stage. What am I saying? I'm saying we don't have a product which is fully ready to go to the market or mature market. And there's a key message here. What it means, if you're an entrepreneur, you don't have to wait until you have a perfect solution in order to go out to the market or to test your product. Because for now, of course, we are also generating few revenues, but we haven't yet finalized our product. It's a very minimal product. We are constantly going back to the farmers, we are getting input, and we haven't done the test stage here. It means doing a rigorous testing of the product, that it is really addressing the intended need. So for all those of you who are listening, and then you're entrepreneurs, don't wait until you have a fully developed product to go to the market. Go as quickly as possible, talk to your customer with your product, with your minimum viable product, get as much information as possible, and then you move on. Now, I want to say Malawi, just in case others they don't know where Malawi is specifically, I've just put a map to the right here. Where I've circled, that's where there's Malawi. In fact, Malawi, we call it's a warm heart of Africa. Okay, so you remember there's a heart, but that heart is quite warm. So it's not just any other heart. So Malawi, warm heart of Africa, warm. Just bear in mind that because we're quite nice people. So that's where we are operating now. And so far, we have about 6 active hubs. These are the places where these are interested in nurturing entrepreneurs. And you could see that some they are private, some they are quite connected to, for example, United Development Program is quite connected to uh, other programs which are just interested in uplifting the lives of people. Now, in our case, in Malawi, we are only now actively working with the Enterprise Innovation Hub, and this is a hub which I also co-founded. I'm a co-founder for this hub, and the genesis of this one wanted to push especially the young graduates. And what the Enterprise Innovation Hub they're doing to Chiweto is mainly providing technical and administrative support. And they're doing this because most of, until now, they're the one who are our legal representative whenever we are going to the memorandum of understanding, because I'll show you where we have partners. We have partners, there's a slide which I'll talk about the partners. And that's where they are helping us in terms of legal representation and also giving us guidance into some of the technical issues. Right now, through the university where I'm working, we are also in discussion and most at an advanced stage where we are discussing with the UNDP Accelerator Lab. If a UNDP, they have got accelerator labs across the world. And in Malawi, they also have a lab, and we're in discussion. Mainly for UNDP, we are discussing about the financial support in order to accelerate our development of our products. But the rest, we also engage them now and again. Now that I've talked about hubs, these are only in Malawi. But I want to bring your attention to what is happening in Africa. That's why I said I wanted to mention something about how can we connect with African entrepreneurs. There are 3 networks or things that I wanted to mention about that one. Let me begin with the AfriLabs. So AfriLabs is a network of hubs. So it means here you are seeing they have about 225 member hubs in 47 African countries. So out of these 225, 2 of them, they are from Malawi. And they normally have what we call annual gatherings. In fact, last year in 2019, I attended their gathering. We were in Ethiopia. It was quite awesome. It was good. So especially for example, if you're an investor, you say, how can I get to this country? How can I know? Who can I approach to say, I want to know some of the, for example, you have got a preferred field of entrepreneurs you want to invest in, you want to invest in Africa. In fact, they are holding in the next 1 month, they'll have a virtual conference. You can go to their website, you can register, because these are the one harboring entrepreneurs in their countries. So you have 47 countries and 225 members where you can go engage and connect with them. And we also have African Business Angel Network. For all these, I have contacts for this one. For those who may say, how can I contact them? I can link you up to these people. They are really quite good, nice people. I can link you, and then we can explore 1 or 2 3 opportunities. So African Business Angel Network is another interesting network. In fact, in 2016, we were in South Africa. They also organize conferences. We were in South Africa. It was about investment, and we were there. It was quite a good time, an interesting time, and lots of great ideas from these people. And now they are even working together, I think, Urban and AfriLabs. And another online platform is Venture Capital for Africa. You can just www.vca.dc4a. And then you find there, it's both for investors and entrepreneurs. You can create an account, and then you can try to see which entrepreneurs they're raising fund at what stage, and then you can get connected, and it also people can know you. So these are some of the platforms, especially if you want to, if you don't know where to begin, if you want to come to Africa, if you want to invest in Africa and you don't know where to begin. So that's somewhere where you can you can go and connect. After saying that, I cannot finish the talk without appreciating the brilliant team behind this whole Chiweto. So this slide, I just want to show you that I'm not alone. There are great people behind me, very committed, very, very smart. These are the people behind it. And also, we also have an intern. I'll talk about internship later in one slide, just briefly. But we have one colleague who is in Switzerland, but the rest of us, we are in Malawi. So I just want also to say thank you to these guys. They're really good guys. And without them, I think I couldn't be here talking to you, but they're really nice people. Thank you so much, guys. And we also have a team of advisor. We have Mise, who is in Germany, and we have Timothy, who is in Malawi, and then we have Christian, who is in Switzerland. So these are our key advisors, and most of the and even Christian is an economist and also a farmer. That's quite interesting. And then we have these two professors. So these are our advisors, and I just want also to say a word of appreciation to them for their input and their knowledge invested. And for the partners, I talked about partners. So here I've talked about EIH, I've talked about Luana. So we are also working with the Zodiac. This is one of the powerful local radio stations in Malawi. They are the one helping us, especially in marketing, and also in who managed us to get hold of the shortcode that we're using. But also we are in partnership with the University of Turin in Italy. So we have a 3-year agreement with the University of Turin. So our agreement is that they are running what we call an ICT for development and social good master's program. So if you're a student and you are participating in that program, if you're in Africa and you're looking for somewhere to do internship, just know that Chiweto is one of the recognized and a partner to University of Turin to do internship. Right now, we have one student who is doing internship. He should be finishing this month or next month his internship with us. So you are quite welcome, regardless of wherever you're coming from, which country. We should be able to accommodate you. So I want to say thank you so much for your listening, and this is just some of the things that I wanted to share, and you are most welcome to ask any question. I'm looking forward also to learn from you. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Daniel, for really all your contribution. And yeah, like you said, now the floor is open for questions. So please use the Q&A panel to ask whatever comes to your mind. So in the meantime, to give you a little bit of time to think about what you would want to know more, I have a couple of questions. So at the very beginning, you mentioned that you were very fortunate to find places where you could gain the knowledge you needed to perform better as an entrepreneur. So were these encounters deliberate, or was there more chance? And can you tell us how you would go about it today to find where the knowledge where you need it?
Okay. That's a very good question. So this was not by chance. So I was looking for where and what to do. So I remember one of the course I did for, I think it was for 2 months. It was from University, Bocconi University. That's an Italian university. They also run an entrepreneurship. So I had to search. And also during my PhD, I was allowed to take courses which are outside my field. And what I did was to decide to choose courses which are more entrepreneurial related. So one, I was really putting effort into searching some of the opportunities in terms of capacity building, in terms of what I can do, what I can learn to be an entrepreneur. Because there's a difference between having a knowledge and putting that knowledge into practice. There's a huge difference. Because you can have the knowledge, but translating that knowledge or that idea into practice, it can be nightmare. So that's why I keep on, even now, whenever there's an opportunity. I think when I was in Malawi, I attended there's another Acumen. I don't know if some people, they know there's another entrepreneurship platform, Acumen. They also offer different programs. I just enrolled with one of the team members, and we had a great time to learn how can you solve problems, for example, for Africa. And that one is interesting because it was targeting on Africa, and it was quite interesting to me and to my colleague. So I had to put an effort, and one has to put an effort in order to get what you want, what you need.
Okay. Thank you very much. People, don't be shy. Go away. I would have another question. So regarding the setup you have now for COVID-related communication, do you plan
Yeah.
to use it in the future for other topics?
Okay. So ideally, the platform that we had is not even for COVID in the
Yes.
beginning. In the first place, it's that SMS platform. We are developing it for three purposes. One, for data collection from farmers because they use SMS. So whether they have a smartphone or they have a basic phone, they can still interact or send their information. So for that one, we are targeting more researchers, those who are into research, those who are interested to engage farmers. And two, that platform is also used for education. So sometimes we are having institutions who they want just to educate farmers, for example, about financial services because farmers they may want to access agricultural loans, but they don't have enough information or reference in terms when it comes to loans, agricultural loans. So they can also use that for educating farmers. And the third component is where you use that one for disseminating information. You can also use it for marketing. So it's cross-cutting. It's not even only in livestock. It's in different fields, and it's not only for COVID, but you can also use it for other purposes as long as the ultimate purpose is to collect data, or the ultimate purpose is to educate, or the ultimate purpose is just to disseminate the information.
Okay. Thank you. So I had a question that is not related to directly addressed to you, Daniel, but I will reply to it now for everybody. And they were asking if APP is only for graduates or if we welcome people that are interested in joining. We welcome every professional with and without a degree, and it's really about developing everybody's skills and helping everyone going further in their personal career. So anybody that would be interested to join us is more than welcome. So I would have maybe another question again. So Chiweto was founded in Switzerland, if I understand well, but you are working in Malawi. So can you tell us more about the challenges on working on two countries that may have different regulations, different, yes.
Yeah, that's that's a very good question. Yeah, as I said that when we began in 2017, my co-founder was in Malawi. So one of the challenges was how can we have because sometimes you need to meet as quite often as possible. And I remember at the beginning we had to schedule every week. We were meeting. I think every Sunday we had a call. But it's not always. It's when you are having a conversation over the phone or over the maybe what. It's different when you're in person. So one of the change that the timing in terms of how best could you be together and discuss in detail some of the issues and for a very long time because mostly our meetings were confined to 1 hour. 1 hour. So it was not. It was quite a challenge, especially to have that discussion. That's why you could see that maybe on the scale how we moved from ideation to prototype. It took us almost a year. So that would be one of the factors that contributed. But one of the things that we observed is that why is it important to have a co-founder who is also self-motivated? Because that was very key. Had it been that my co-founder was not quite motivated, then we couldn't be making any progress. So I normally appreciate his push and also his input on that one. And it's always very important, especially when you are forming a team or you're coming out with a company. It's not just about two people who have great ideas, but two people we can agree on what to do. Who can take on the let's do this, who can agree on a vision. So it's about who can agree on the vision and move forward, because it would really be difficult if it was just a question of just one person say, okay, let's do this, let's do that. But it's always a challenge, especially now we had two products. I know one of the products that we're working, it's not only for African market, but it's also for European market. And it's quite always a challenge to bring everything together and to learn with to start with a number of products. And this is one of the lessons that we have had so far, that uh, focus, it's always very important to focus, because I think we had about two products in parallel running, and we got kind of delayed in terms of how to achieve the first prototype. Maybe that's why it took us a year, because we're like jumping from one product to another. So it's quite not easy, and it's quite a challenge, especially if you're not if you're living in different countries.
A question just came in. So are the hubs that you are connected to only involved in animal and farming related issue, or other fields can also benefit from the highlights, the hubs highlighted in the presentation?
Okay, thank you for that question. In fact, these hubs, they are working in all fields. There's one which they have, like in our case, the one I co-founded, we are not field specific, and I know even UNDP Acceleration Lab, they are not specific, but M Hub, they are more into technology, IT, technology. They're into technology. So some they're specific and some they're quite broad. And most of them, livestock is just a component. They're not even only focusing on livestock. They're quite broad in terms of their approach and focus.
Well, I guess there is no more question coming in. So thank you again, Daniel. Oh, sorry. So there is a question from Emmanuel Matabao. Do you collaborate with the government in Malawi?
Yes, that's a good question. I can say yes, in the sense that I don't know if I mentioned that for this SMS platform, we push out agricultural extension messages. And normally we are using these messages, they have been drafted and vetted and verified by the government of Malawi. So normally you don't just share another message unless it's a project, maybe for a particular organization. They can create their own messages, but in our case, we use government messages in terms of sending out, but we haven't yet used like a formal collaboration, which we can say there's a formal collaboration. But we started that discussion with the Department of Agriculture Extension in Malawi, and we are about to convene a meeting and to formalize our collaboration with government on how we can work together.
So there are more questions coming in. So Charles Kaunda asks you, have you considered rolling your product into the produce market? It seems that there are good opportunities in this area too.
In what?
In the produce market, have you considered rolling? So have you considered rolling your product in the produce market? Product market, I guess.
Okay. Yes. Absolutely, yes. Because I initially I think we are more biased to what we do as livestock, but later on, it is through the feedback that we are getting from our customers that we came to realize that yes, this product can also be extended to different markets that we have, and even can be used in different fields. And one of it, apart from just, for example, information, we have realized that it can also be used as a tool for monitoring and evaluation in projects. That's what we have realized. And for one institution, they also asked us if they can integrate it in their e-learning platform, whereby, for example, in Africa, not every student is able to access internet. And they say sometimes we ask for submission of assignments and say, no, I didn't get the email because I didn't have a bundle. And they say, okay, we want to be able to reach them, even to remind them about deadlines for assignments by SMS. So yeah, it has got quite vast application.
Thank you. So there is a question from Mustafa Maliki, who is asking that you mentioned a few platforms during the talk with African entrepreneur. Are these platforms aimed only at institutional investors with big money, or can also private people invest in smaller scale?
Okay, yeah. So for example, for Urban, that's African Business Angel, it can be an institutional or an individual, but it means you have to register it and you get recognized, and even you can team up. For example, 1-2 individuals can team up to invest in a particular individual. And even for venture capital for Africa, that one is also you can invest as an individual or you can invest as a firm. So they are quite flexible in terms of who can be an investor. What normally happens, especially for venture capital for Africa, you submit a profile and then it undergoes a review, and then normally they approve according to their criteria after the assessment.
Okay. There is another question that came from Elvis Aju. He is currently operating a poultry farm in Cameroon, and he would like to know how he could use your product in his farm there.
That's quite interesting. So one of the interesting things with the platform is that it's like we can do a customized platform depending on the needs of the customer. What we normally do is, because right now we can reach any country in Africa in terms of pushing out the SMSs. So even today, we can send an SMS to a person in Cameroon about what they should do, or reminding them about they should check whether the chickens are okay or the chicks they are looking okay, or if it's a day for them to do to provide a particular treatment. So yes, it's possible. The only thing which we cannot do now is that you may not have feedback from the person from Camille, because we need now to get hold of the local network providers of the people that you are working or working for you in Cameroon. Alternatively, because it's quite advanced, the alternative thing is we're building an app. So for an app, we might not need even the local net telecommunication companies. So yes, it's possible. You can use it, and we can customize it depending on what kind of messages or data you want to receive from people or whoever is working for you at your poultry farm in Cameroon.
Okay, thank you. So Chikondi Chiumia is asking how, so in for the hubs you are connected to right now, the one that is there a requirement for subscription or registration, or should one pay something? How does it go when you want to join one of them?
Okay, thank you for the good question. So there are different criteria, and most of them, they normally send out calls, like for example, for Growth Accelerator, they have phases where they recruit. While for other hubs like M Hub, like Nzuzu, E Hub, you can just go there. I have the contacts for the ones managing these hubs, and then you share your idea, and they also have what you call co-working space or working space. So you can have a working spot in their hub, and whenever they organize events, they also prioritize people who are using their space in their hubs. So for some, especially I know for Growth Accelerator, for UNDP, they need to put out the call. But for MHub and Zuzu eHub, those one you can approach them, and then they can assess, and then they'll give you a spot that yes, you can come into our hub. And it's good because you also have access to other services which they have, or trainings which they have for the entrepreneurs. As long as you go there and then you follow, they screen you, and then they give you a go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Daniel, for all these insightful and very powerful and instructive for this presentation. I think now we have answered most of the questions, and so I want to thank you again for really taking the time with us today, and also all the participants for asking all these very interesting questions that really push the discussion forward. I want to invite you to keep looking up for us. We are going to come in 1 month with the second issue of this series, and there we will have as speakers the company Point Bleu, which is from Haiti, and this is a fintech that helps private people to grow wealth. And with that, I will close today's session.
Thank you so much, Nana.
You're
And thank you
welcome.
so much, everyone.